So for those of you who don't know, Nick has a supplement company. Is that what we call it, a sports nutrition company?
Yeah, sports nutrition dietary supplement company.
And you started through social influencing on YouTube and Instagram, kind of the same basic thing that all of the people that have watched me do it, where I started making videos, sharing my life, and then that turned into me looking for some sort of solution to provide to people, and then my job became a real inconvenience to my hobby. You know?
Yeah. I did it a little backwards. I started the company first, and then I started social media 2 years after starting the company.
Okay, got it.
First couple of years were rough, but we found our way.
I remember listening to the one of your original podcasts when you told the story. So you didn't have a whole lot of success right off the bat, right? It took a little while for you to kind of get it going. Can you tell a little bit? Give us the 15-minute version of the story from start to finish, and then I'd like to talk. What I wanted to talk about today was, sort of where you're at today, and share some ideas back and forth from a business perspective. I can tell you a little bit about what we're doing, and there's a lot of similarities between Obsessed Garage and BPN, and kind of how you guys are building it. As I watch your videos, I see we're doing a lot of the same exact stuff. Trying to figure out your warehouse and your people, and hiring people to help you create content and things like that is a lot of the same stuff that I'm dealing with. So I'd like to talk about that. So tell us a little bit about the BPN story, your story, and kind of how you've gotten to where you are.
Yeah, so I was in college. I started college in 2009 out in the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is like 45 minutes from Pittsburgh. And I was going to school studying nutrition, and I was on an Army ROTC scholarship. So I knew that as soon as I graduated college, I was going to be going into active duty military. And sports nutrition, training, working out, it was an obsession of mine, like early on in college. I was just like, absolutely loved every part of it. And as a broke college student, we didn't have money to buy pre-workout and supplements, or really anything we wanted. So me and my buddies freshman year chipped in. We all put in like $30 to buy pre-workout ingredients in bulk. And that would be planned for that to last us for the year. Mm-hmm. So freshman year, I'm in my dorm mixing up my own pre-workout and supplements for me and my buddies. So caffeine, citrulline malate, beta-alanine, creatine, and we add some flavoring, and we'd sell it to buddies on the floor of the dorm. So if someone just walked into my dorm room freshman year, it looked like I was a drug dealer dealing drugs, because I got this scale on my floor, white powder all over it, and kids are coming to my door knocking. I give them a baggie of white stuff. They give me some money. But I just fell in love with sports performance and nutrition. Mm-hmm. So between my junior and senior year of college, I had to go to this assessment course in Fort Lewis, Washington, called the Leadership Development Assessment Course. It was 30 days of training. And essentially, you get assessed by all the other cadets in the nation. And based off your assessment, it determined what your job was in the military, in the Army. So I came back from this training with this like newfound confidence because I assessed very well there. So I literally got back from Fort Lewis, Washington, landed in Pennsylvania, and like the next day I started Bear Performance Nutrition. It was a company that I wanted to start for years. It was my passion. I loved everything about sports performance nutrition and supplement industry. So I decided, hey, I'm just going to launch this. So I got a $20,000 loan, and I found a manufacturer in the States here, put some products into production because I already had my formulas put together. We refined them a little bit based off of pricing and flavoring and whatnot. And that was where I was like, all right, I have a company established now. I have product in production. I have 12-week lead times. Now it's time for me to learn how to build this brand. So I was trying to do what I could with what I knew, but I'm this, junior in college, no background in business, no mentors in business. All my family, no one that I knew of ever started an e-commerce business. So I was kind of ignorant to how much work it was going to take.
Right.
And I remember telling my dad, I said, hey, I'm going to make $1 million this year. He just laughed. He said, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. I said, I'm going to show you. I'm going to make $1 million this year. So fast forward like 12 weeks, I'd build the website with a buddy who did it for free because I had no more money left. All my money went into the product. I had another buddy design the labels and the logos and the t-shirts. And I do a little bit of influencer marketing. I find some YouTubers to do reviews of the supplements. And we go and launch, and I expect day one to sell out. And we launch and no sales.
So what year was that?
This was 2012.
Okay. Did you pay your buddies to do this stuff?
No, it was all free. I didn't have any money left over. I spent all the money on inventory.
Did you ever eventually go back and have them sign like an NDA or anything, or non-compete or something, or an IP release?
Nope. In the beginning, it was a handshake. It said, "Hey man, if we make it, I'll take care of you. I promise you." And after the first 6 months, they were like, "This guy's not going anywhere. We're bouncing." They all left. So that first year was rough. That first year was just trying to figure out how do I get people to buy this stuff, because I have all this supply, but I have no demand for what I'm selling.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to market. I wasn't using social media. I didn't have any money to put into advertising. Year one, we did $20,000 in revenue, but this was pretty much just from friends, family. I remember I did a 50% off discount this one day just to move inventory to pay some bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like 30 sales rolled in, and I was completely overwhelmed. I was 30 sales is more than I probably had the entire year up to that point. So year one was rough, and it wasn't the best timing because a year after I started the company, I graduated college with a degree in nutrition, and I got sent down to Fort Benning, Georgia to complete my obligated military training. So I went through the infantry officer basic course. I went through Ranger School, Airborne School, Bradley Leader course. I was there for a year. And I got shipped and stationed in Fort Hood, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up in Texas. And when I got to Texas, my unit at the time was in Germany for like another 60 to 90 days. So I had some free time.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided with this free time, I'm going to start a social media platform. So I went to YouTube.
Yep.
So I spent $500, like the last $500 in my bank account, because I kept putting money back into the business.
So you're getting paid after IUP, then you go. So your ROTC at IUP, you get to go for free. Is that they pay for most of it?
Yeah, they paid for school. They paid for books. They gave me a monthly stipend.
And then you're technically a career Army officer. You're in the Army at that point, right? After graduation, you're getting a paycheck. You're employed, but they're covering all of your room and board and all that stuff. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So as soon as I graduated, I pretty much went on payroll with the military.
Right. Okay.
I was getting paid as a second lieutenant, so I had a source of income coming in.
Gotcha. But you were just spending all that back on the business, buying crap for it.
Oh yeah, I was just pumping money back into the brand to try to grow it.
Got it. Okay.
And along the way, I'm just trying to figure these things out because I'm this brand new business owner who has no experience in anything.
So your parents aren't sending you big checks to keep you afloat. I mean, you're having to do your typical, like all us Pennsylvania boys. You're, normal middle class family, and it's on you. Figure it out, right?
Yeah, well, my dad came from a farming family, so the thought of an e-commerce business wasn't practical. And then my mom, she was a school teacher, so this is like I knew I wanted to do it. Like it wasn't successful. This is like 2 years in.
Got it.
And I knew it. I just like stopping was never an option. I was so in love with the process still.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I am sitting in Fort Hood, Texas, and I launched this YouTube channel with the intent of just documenting my training, nutrition, sharing some information on the business. It was never to monetize the brand. It was to build a community. And I figured that if I was able to build a community, I could increase sales to the business. And my goal was to have 10,000 subscribers in my lifetime on my YouTube channel. That was my goal. So I was trying to figure out YouTube and social media and talking to a camera and getting past those awkward phases, like the beginning of creating an online presence and personality. So as my YouTube channel starts to grow, sales slowly start to increase. And just as sales are starting to become pretty good, I mean, we're doing like $3,000 a month in revenue. I get sent to South Korea for a 9-month rotation. And when I found out I was going to South Korea, I thought this was going to be the end of my brand. I was like, well, it was fun while it lasted, but I'm not going to be able to film any videos in South Korea. I'm not going to be able to build the brand. So I was like, I'll just take my camera stuff and all my gear with me just in case. Mm-hmm. And at this point, the company is essentially located in Pennsylvania still. So my brother and my dad are shipping out the orders for me that are coming in. Mm-hmm. In my parents' this room above the garage at my parents' house.
My parents did literally exact same thing. Like my dad and mom were shipping like microfiber towels off my old bed, like in their 1,800 square foot house in Pennsylvania. Same thing. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so I get to South Korea and I realize I have more free time than I thought I would. So I decided, well, I'm going to use every waking moment of free time here to learn how to build this brand. Because I knew that when I was coming back from South Korea, I was going to have 1 year left in the military and then I was going to transition out. Mm-hmm. So I saw this 9-month rotation in South Korea as an opportunity. So I didn't watch any movies, no TV, really no like fun entertainment. Every waking moment outside of my military obligation and job was spent learning how to build this brand. So I learned coding. I was listening to podcasts. I was researching how to film videos, edit videos better, market the products, rebrand. I did complete rebranding when I was in South Korea. And my goal was by the time I left South Korea, I wanted to be making $10,000 a month in revenue.
So this was 13 and 14-ish?
This was like 15, 16.
Okay.
So within the first 90 days of being in South Korea, we went from making about $2,000 to $3,000 a month in revenue to $10,000 a month in revenue. Mm-hmm. And my social media platform really took off actually when I was stationed over there because I started sharing more of my military experience, military lifestyle, if you will. Because
what kind of difficulties did you deal with did you just share it and just not ask for permission? Do you have to get permission to vlog, a day in the life? I mean, was there any conflict of interest that got you in any kind of trouble or hot water by doing that?
I had to talk to my company commander to get approval to do social media and run a business outside of the Army. And my company commander at the time, he gave me the approval to do that. And it was very rare that I took a camera to like the office and work. I think there's only like 1 day, maybe 2 days ever that I actually filmed like a day in the life as a platoon leader in the infantry. Mm-hmm. If I ever filmed anything, I would take a GoPro to PT and then I wouldn't film unless it was before work or after work.
Right.
So, but one day, and this is where things kind of took off, the platform's growing slowly while I'm stationed over there. And one day I was like, I'm going to take my camera around with me today. I'm just going to film a day in the life of an infantry platoon leader.
Yep. I think I've watched that video. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't share any operational security. It was all like basic stuff, talking to my platoon, interviewing my platoon sergeant, showing PT and just talking about what it was like being in South Korea as a infantry platoon leader. And I posted that video, not thinking anything of it. And that video went like viral. For me at the time, it was like it hit 1 million views, which I never even saw over 100,000 views. And that video alone in 30 days took me from 30,000 subscribers to 80,000 subscribers. So I saw this growth and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And to this day, people will still come up to me and say, I remember watching your first video that I've ever saw, and that was the day in the life of an infantry platoon leader in South Korea. So that video reached a lot of people, and a lot of those people converted into subscribers and followers, and then went back and started watching what I was doing for the previous 3 years, building this brand and documenting the process. And that was a pivotal point in the business. So South Korea was like the most not productive 9 months of my life ever, but it was nonstop work. I mean, I was working from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning because that's the only opportunity to talk to people back in the States. Mm-hmm. And then I would go to work. I would go to PT from like 6:30 to 8. And then I'd come back to my room, grab my camera, go to the gym on post, and I'd film from 8 to 9 because it was the only opportunity to film in the gym on post.
So PT is not enough for an athlete like you to satisfy what you would need to do from a workout perspective.
No,
You'd supplement that.
It's pretty big. It's bare bones, but I mean, my entire platoon was working out in addition to PT.
Was there, sorry, I keep getting you sidetracked here, but is there like a competitiveness to PT where you want to win?
Oh yeah. I mean, it really depended on the workout. We would do like runs. It was a very competitive group of guys. I mean, it's a bunch of infantry dudes who they want to make it to the top of the hill first. They want their team to win, their battle buddy team to win in a certain event. Sometimes we did combatives, push-ups. PT was always different, but it was a very competitive group of guys. But
that's what I see. If I wasn't such a sissy, I wanted to go to the Naval Academy. Only I was too afraid to donate or give the blood test, and so I went to Villanova instead.
There you go.
Anyway, keep going. So you're seeing lots of success in Korea. You come back home. Then what happens?
So I come back home, and I convinced my brother to move from Pennsylvania to Texas while I was in South Korea to continue helping me build the brand. So he graduated college. He was working a full-time job for 6 months. I said, hey, can you move down to Texas, move the brand with you, which at the time all fit in one small U-Haul van. I said, I can't pay you, but you can live in my house for free, and then we'll figure it out from there. He said, done. So he quit his job. He rented a U-Haul. He packed up the U-Haul with supplements, moved down to Texas, and started shipping things out of my house. So I had like this 1,300 square foot house in Texas. So I get back from South Korea, and we continue operations and building the brand. And at that point, I had about a year left of being in the military. So during this year, we signed a lease for a warehouse, 6,000 square foot warehouse, because we couldn't operate out of my house anymore. It was, at this point, it was supplements in the garage, supplements in the bedroom, in the living room, shaker bottles everywhere.
You'd have UPS freight showing up, and you're dumping it in the middle of the road, and you're fire drilling it back to the driveway, kind of thing.
It was a nightmare. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yep, we had the same thing. My parents had a gravel driveway, and they'd be driving through this little neighborhood with giant tractor trailers, and yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, so at this point, we signed a lease for a warehouse. My life is even more crazy now because the house I was living in was 45 minutes away from Fort Hood. The warehouse was 45 minutes away from the house.
But the opposite way.
It's like an hour and a half away from Fort Hood. So I was sleeping maybe an hour or two a night for it felt like a year. But every morning felt like Christmas morning. Just like running off straight, like passion and energy. It was awesome. We were pumping out YouTube content like no other. We were building the community. We were building the brand. We were moving to the warehouse. And then the time came where I transitioned out of the military, and now I had an additional 12 hours a day to dedicate to building the brand. And that year, 2017, was our first 7-figure year. And then we took what we learned there and just continuously kept building. So now at this point, I've been out of the military for 3 years. We moved into our second warehouse about a year ago. We're about to in the next 2 weeks move into an additional 10,000 square feet because we outgrew this one. And the focus has been building an online community, truly adding value in the form of education for sports performance, nutrition, quality products in terms of supplementation, transparency. We take the consumer to the manufacturing facility. We're third party, drug-free tested. And my main focus right now is building the team with the right people for the right job, with the right skill set, and developing that team to scale the brand as big as possible.
Yeah. So I'll give you a quick 5 minute because all of my people have heard my story, just so you can have a frame of reference for how similar the stories are. I grew up in the same area of the country. I'm a little bit older than you. I graduated high school in '98.
Okay.
So I went to Villanova '98 to '02. I came out with an electrical engineering degree, and in college I flunked a course. I flunked fundamentals of electrical engineering too. So in high school I'm like 3.8, 3.9, but don't know how to study. I don't know what studying is. I just show up and do math and figure it out. Well, in college it was very different. You'd have to actually, like, I wasn't smart enough to wing it,
Right.
and I wung it anyway. And so here I am, lower middle class kid going to Villanova. It's $40,000 a year in the main line of Philadelphia, and I flunked a class, and so I couldn't skip. Like I couldn't skip I couldn't take an extra semester. A fifth year wasn't an option, and so I stayed for the summer. I actually got a job at a high end stereo store, and I learned how to sell. Like, because I was a typical engineer, I couldn't look in the eye. I was a little awkward, a little weird, and learned how to sell. Eventually moved to Florida. I got a job at Merrill Lynch, and became a really, really successful financial advisor. And while I was financial advising, I eventually became a senior vice president, and I was the director of the market, and had a huge client base. And I think at some point I'd developed this complex that I was awesome. I was better than you because I had more money, I had better cars, I had a nicer house, and I wouldn't even let my assistant like process paperwork. I did everything myself. I wouldn't let anybody touch anything because I thought I would do it better. And what happened was I eventually totally melted down. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but later come to find out to what anxiety meant. Typical late, mid-30s male thing to happen, and so I went from super fit. I thought I was awesome to like broken, just completely broken. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was just sitting on the couch freaking out for a couple of months. And here I am making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, have this great life and great wife and kids and this awesome house and everything, and couldn't get out of it. Well, I eventually realized that I don't know jack, and I hired a psychiatrist, then introduced me to a psychologist, and the psychologist said, dude, you need to like make some friends. Through this, it took months to figure this out. I think he meant go meet your neighbor. Well, I took it as let's make a YouTube channel because that'd be the most efficient way as an engineer to meet the most people possible. And so I set the camera up and I started talking to it. It was out of focus. I had a Canon 5D Mark II. It didn't autofocus. I just sit it there. I didn't have a mic, so you couldn't hear what I was saying half the time. And I just started talking to it while washing my GT3, my $150,000 car. Only this time, I didn't think my car was better. I was just so happy to have it. Like I felt so fortunate that I had this car and I was sharing passion around how I washed it. And so what started to happen is people would drive me crazy because they'd want to know all the listing of the products that I was using. They're like, well, what soap did you use? What polisher, and why did you do that? And so eventually I created an Amazon affiliate link or affiliate account, and started sending out links to affiliates. And rather than typing it up in each video what products I was using, because sometimes I'd use 30 products, I built a website. And that same thing, I had a buddy made my logo, and then then another buddy like built the website on WordPress. I eventually became scared that those guys were going to come and ask for a couple $1,000,000 for creating this logo that now has become pretty significant to me and
Right.
the world. And so just I'm doing this side hustle while being a financial advisor. Never in a million years thought a side hustle would take away from my job where I'm making $500,000. And so I made some T-shirts. And then eventually Amazon shut my account down. This is the seminal moment. So this was in 2016. Amazon shut my account down because I tried to set up Amazon Pay for my T-shirts, and they just canceled my account. And I have the account since like 1999. And so it dawned on me. I'm like, because I was holding on to this. Well, I could make 7% in affiliate links why would I want to deal with retailing, like packing and shipping and all that crap? Because I make a bunch of money, and this is just a little side hustle. It helps me pay for new detailing supplies. And when it dawned on me that, I bet you there's like some decent margins in some of these products if I were to sell it. And the other realization is if you wanted the pressure washer that I use to wash my car, I'd send you like 18 links to like all over the freaking place. So I
Right.
said, what if I just bought all that stuff and packaged it and called it the Obsessed Garage pressure washing solution? And so, of course, all the companies told me no for a while. No, you can't be a retailer. No, you can't buy our stuff. No, no, no. Everybody said no. Eventually, in 2017, I'd convinced one of them to say yes. I used that other one to get the other one to say yes. And then the third one, I beat him into submission, and they gave me a shot. And that first, I turned the pressure washers on that first month, and I lost like 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. I think I had like 70,000 at the time. I put 13 videos all up at once of all the parts and pieces, and I lost 7,000 subscribers, but I had like 100 emails in my inbox, and we did like 50,000 in sales of pressure washers that first month.
That's awesome.
And so fast forward a couple of years. So I started in 17. In 18, I started carrying my camera around everywhere with me. And I took my camera into my office, and I made a comment about Super 90s, because the furniture was like cherry wood, and eventually that got to the CEO of the big firm, and eventually got me walked out the door. so 2018, I'm making freaking crap pile of money, and it went to zero. And we were doing about 150,000, 200,000, 300,000 in sales, depending on month to month. And so at that moment, I said, well, shoot, if you don't trust me, I'm out. And so I packed up. I went to my parents' house, where they had it filled with microfiber towels and detail spray and all the stuff we were selling, packing and shipping from their house. Moved them down here. We got a 2,000 square foot warehouse. And the moment that I walked out the door of wealth management, the business tripled. I said, I watched your first $1 million month. I'm like, dang it, I wanted to beat him to that. We'll have our first $1 million month this month, and so now I have 15 employees and live the freaking dream. I wake up every day and I play with my cars, and people respond to that like nothing I could have ever imagined, because I let them in instead of thinking I was better than everybody. The other thing that happened is, when they put you on happy pills, when you go crazy, you gain a bunch of freaking weight, and it's almost impossible to fix. That's why I watch you, to get my fat rear end in shape, so I can start to be a real athlete again. I played volleyball at Villanova, and so you inspire me to get my crap together so that I can, the business wise, I got that licked.
Right.
It's the now managing it all, because when you mentioned people, I don't do people very well, and now I got all these people that I can't do it all myself. If I don't develop them, if I do what I did to my assistant in wealth management and wouldn't let her do anything, I'm screwed.
Oh, you go crazy.
So now I spend all of my time focused on, one, creating content, talking with the audience, and the same thing I bet you happened to you. If I asked the people that are following me to help me with something, they would drop everything and do it. Like if I said, hey guys, I've got too much of this one product. This is going to be a problem for me. Can you help me? Can you buy this from me? They do it in an instant. And so that's the true testament of a community, and not just a business, but a brand. You're not I wouldn't call myself an influencer. I would guess you'd probably think the same. It's much different when you have a brand versus influence. So how are you guys responding now? I mean, how's the business doing? My solution has been to double down, work twice as hard. How have you guys held up during this?
With everything with COVID-19?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our sales have actually increased. Our Healthline series has increased. Strong Red, Strong Green, Strong Multivitamin. Whey protein sales have increased. I think just as a good source of nutrition, while grocery stores are crazy. So our sales haven't been affected at all. I think one of the things we did correctly is as soon as I found out that gyms were closing down, people weren't going to have access to training facilities and gyms.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past 6 months, we've been working to develop this training platform within our app.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan was to charge $30 a month subscription fee to people who want this programming. But as soon as I found out that all this stuff was going on with COVID-19 and gyms closing, we rushed the development of finishing the app. We offered it for free, and we launched it as soon as possible. I mean, we launched it within 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about a month ago now. And we have 30,000 people running the online programming that we put out there. So I think that has really helped maintain our sales as well, and even increase sales, because what we're offering, I mean, the amount of work that it's taking us a week to do this is insane. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, especially because we're offering it for free. But it's our way of, one, providing a level of a thank you, our gratefulness for all the support over the years.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see people maintain their level of fitness and reach their goals. And it's for a way for us to give back to the community that has shown us support for so long. But, we knew it was going to be this valuable resource. We just didn't know how many people were going to take part in it.
So what's the plan to transition them to, to paying, patrons of the app? How will you guys manage that transition, or will you go to a paid service?
We'll go to a paid eventually. So right now it's all home training. So the programming isn't too complex because there's only so much you can do with push-ups, pull-ups, running, stuff like that. When it transitions to the full training, we have someone that's coming full-time to run that programming, who's certified strength and conditioning, currently a Green Beret in the U.S. Army. So once we transition to the full Embrace the Suck paid version, people are going to have to re-sign up, because I don't want to just, hey, all of a sudden your credit card's charged $30.
Sure.
So we'll cancel that entire product, and then people will have to re-sign up. I figured that was the best way to do it, just so we don't have any disgruntled customers or miscommunication. But it was also a good way to show, hey, this is how the platform's going to work, and this is what we're going to offer. But when we do offer the paid version, I mean, there's going to be so many more features and benefits to it that we weren't able to implement just with the restricted timeline.
So how many people do you guys have now? How many people that work for you?
Well, 10. We have 10 right now.
And then so what's the percentage? You have warehouse staff, and then you have media people. How do you set up the business? How have you structured it from a people or personnel perspective?
Yeah, so it's about 50-50, 50 office, 50 warehouse. I have a manager who's in charge of the entire warehouse, who has employees under him. And he handles all of the USPS, FedEx contracts, logistics, things coming in, coming out. Mm-hmm. And the guys that work for him are order fulfillment guys and then package handlers. So they have the warehouse on lockdown. And then in the office, I have my media team. So my creative director, social media manager, Daniel, who you talked to, director of business operations, who he's only been working for us for about 2 weeks now, but his first main task was to build out an ambassador platform, and then he'll take over a lot of the admin responsibilities that I'm currently head of, to give me more of a bigger perspective, vision approach, rather than kind of.
Yeah, it's time for you have to continue to promote yourself to the next level, rather than having a job, right? You need to have a position.
Yeah.
Where you're thinking globally. Otherwise you get hung up in the weeds. How often do you find yourself on Black Friday back there packing stuff?
Black Friday, this past Black Friday, I was back there packing.
I was too. So I'm not holding it against you.
We got hit hard on Black Friday, but that's probably the only day a year that I'm packing orders.
Yeah.
I have my brother who works too. He's our COO, and he does all the coordination with manufacturers, trademark license agreements, because we use a lot of trademarked ingredients. Mm-hmm. And then we have a full-time customer service who also is in control of our quality control department because we are third party tested.
Do you guys have a phone number that people can call?
Yep. Yeah. It's not a 1-800. It's a 512 area code, which is Central Texas. So we have customer service phone call daily.
Do you get beat up all the time on that?
We get a lot of phone calls. We get a lot of phone calls daily. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I opted in the beginning because I couldn't support it was to have no phone, and I've maintained that. And our discussions are quite a bit more technical because I'm selling these technical products like $5,000 air compressors and things like that. And I've continued to manage what I don't want to have is a bunch of weird old dudes calling us all freaking time. You're taking up everybody's day. I'm always interested to hear. I seem to be the only holdout, the only company that I've ever talked to that is the only has the audacity to just say, you know what, I don't want to talk to you on the phone, so we're not going to have a phone number. And it seems to be working okay.
Sometimes they end up on some long phone calls.
Yeah.
Typically people calling in saying, massive fan of the brand, follow all the videos, all the stuff you guys do on social media. But we love it because it's like, hey, without you guys, we couldn't be doing this. So thank you.
Right. It's another way to touch and engage. Right.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. I'm going to have to build a gosh darn call center. Where you'd have a bunch of people. The other difficulty I have is that educating people on, we have 930-ish SKUs and growing every day. So to have all these various products, you have to have a real intimate understanding. And the people that follow me are generally pretty astute. They're watching because they're looking for technical information. And so the training is going to be a big thing for us in the future. So how do you manage the financial aspect of the business? Do you do that? Do you have a bookkeeper? Do you have an outside CPA? How do you manage all of that?
Yeah, we have an outside CPA. So we outsource accounting, obviously lawyers outsourced. We outsource all of our paid advertising, our SEO. We outsource web development, stuff like that.
Do you ever think about some of those, like as the corporation grows, do you bring that in? Do you keep it with via contractors and consultants? What do you think about that?
I eventually want to bring it all in. I would love to have a CFO. Like I would love to have a CFO here in house. Eventually have all of our paid advertising in house. But we're at a point now where it makes more sense for like the money we're spending on paid advertising to outsource it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I have. I guess I'd call him the controller. I don't want to give him that big of a title; he'll get a big head. But Chris, we do all internal bookkeeping, accounts payable, receivable. I have a CPA that he then reports the bookkeeping to. I had an outside source and then brought it in, and it's been really remarkable. The advantage that I have, and one, he knows the product, so he knows where to put it.
Yeah.
I had an outside bookkeeper, and she just jammed things all over the place. So I couldn't get a good picture of where, because I want to see the 30,000 foot view. I don't want to, otherwise I'll get bogged down in the details and not do what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I want to see, what are we spending on cabinets versus flooring versus lighting, and then are our margins holding up and all of that stuff. So it's been a really remarkable thing. I probably brought that in about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And it's been awesome to be able to just walk in and say, "Hey, can I have a report this week of where are we at? What do we have? What did last month look like? Where's our cash flow headed? Is it headed in the right direction or wrong direction?" Because one of my big fears is always cash flow. Because now, I'm sure you guys are in the similar boat. I mean, my Amex bill is $500,000-$600,000 a month. Buying product. Or ACHing out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that, if the revenue stops coming in, this was my big fear with, the pandemic was, if the revenue stops coming, can I survive? And this is, so how are you managing, or how much do you think about, pay yourself versus the delta versus the growth delta? I find I have a really hard time slowing it down and making myself bulletproof. How do you think about that, or how do you manage growth? Because growth could eat you up, if you're not careful.
And we learned the hard way in 2017, our first 7-figure year, where we were killing it. I mean, we thought we were killing it at the time, but at the same point, like to kind of paint the picture, we at the time didn't have established terms with our manufacturers. So when I would put something into manufacturing, into production, I would put 50% down. And then when it shipped to me 12 weeks later, I had to pay off the remaining. So I'd pay off all the inventory before I got it. So what would happen then is I'd buy the inventory, I'd get it, we'd sell out of it in a week because I wasn't able to buy enough of it. And then I have to put more money down, wait 12 more weeks. So all this money was constantly tied up in production orders. And we slowly dug ourselves out of that hole because we kept running out of inventory because of cash flow issues.
Yeah.
And we weren't spending money stupid. We weren't doing anything dumb with it. It was just that it was all tied up in inventory that I remember laying in bed at night and in that year just thinking, how am I going to survive? How am I going to get out of this hole? And we slowly dug out of that. And one of the things we're doing now to kind of prepare for like this growth, like in this past year, we had a 350% growth. So one of the things we're doing now is we're building these subscription service-based platforms, not even just subscription, but service-based platforms that fund the growth of our product-based business. That's so the training platform is one of them. I'm building a nutrition course right now. That's another one of them. So it's these service-based products that are pretty much straight cash that can fund the product-based business.
Does it worry you, because would you say most of the business to this point has been organics, right? You've shared passion, people responded. You shared more passion, people responded. You concentrated in by leaving your career and shared more passion. So now you're starting to create, you have ideas and you're creating things. What's your take on the difference between you're driving it forward and pivoting and creating things like this that are consistent, but you may be contriving, you're creating something rather than just following your heart? What happens if one of those things fail? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it's give and take. So in 2020, beginning of 2020, I bit off a lot to chew. And I quickly realized how much I bit off. We switched over. I fired my prior email marketing company. I fired our paid advertising company. I fired our SEO company, hired all new. We did a small rebranding structure. We are building out a new website. We did a third-party drug-free certification process for the business, hired more employees, like all this new stuff we did. And I'm slowly recovering, like me personally, not the business, me personally, from all that I bit off and just
the work.
All the work. But I think it's one of those things where I'm only trying to add things now to the brand that are vertically aligned. So if I'm launching a training platform, well, that only supports Better Performance Nutrition because it's fitness related, and people that are coming to us for supplements, well, now we have training to offer and a nutrition course. We now have a nutrition course to offer to them. So they're all vertically aligned within the same niche and helping people reach the same goal. But if I were to go and start a completely different company, that would 100% distract me and if I'm using the same team from our mission. So I learned that the hard way, that if I'm trying to do all these different things, and the word like serial entrepreneur is so popular right now. Well, if you want to be a serial entrepreneur, you better have systems in place to be able to handle that, because it can fully disrupt one system to drive for another.
Yeah, 2019 was that year for me. I was traveling around all over the place, having a hard time saying no. Okay, so if I travel to this manufacturer, then I can learn about this product, and then I'll be able to, develop it and maybe sell it, and then I got to go to this trade show and this and that. And what I found that if I just slow down, things speed up. So if I stay in my lane, I tend to speed up much, much more quickly. But I have all these ideas, probably like you do, that I have to fight myself on all the darn time. Like I want to build a home theater business, and which would totally distract me from what I'm doing here that I can't handle as it is. With 15 people here, relying on me to coach them up and teach them something that I don't even know. Right? We're making this up every day as you wake. I don't know about you, but I wake up every morning and I'm making it up. Like I'm creating this trying to create structure around it, but it's a creation that doesn't exist. Right?
Well, I think I learned you got to build systems. You have to build these systems in place that they automate the things you have to do, but being creative is something that can't be automated. Mm-hmm. So like I'm the same way where I wake up and I have an idea and I want to act on it right away. Like clear example is I was like searching on Google months ago and I saw this blacked out gym. So like I went to Lowe's, I painted the gym all black. It took me like 10 hours. But I did that like that day. It's like the team now knows that I'm going to come into the office with these ideas, and I want to act on it right away. But they're good now where they say, no, right now is not the time. Like we're not doing that.
Shoot, I do that every day.
It's good now where they put me in check.
The entrepreneur chaos, the leader chaos. So, the distribution of the product, right? You buy the product, you have it manufactured, you buy it, you bring it in. That's very capital intensive, right? It's very costly. What's your take on either raising capital or bringing on a partner? Have you done that, or do you condone, or do you not agree with that? What are your thoughts on capital or bringing on other or diluting your ownership, if you will?
I think there's a time and place for both. I mean, depends what kind of position you're in. If you're in a position where you just need money, well, then you'll find a bank that's going to give you some money. But if you're looking for money and experience, and that experience is going to have a greater ROI than the capital alone, well, then look for someone who can give you money, but take that money and turn it into 10x. So I'd rather, like myself personally, I'd rather create these systems, like these services that are essentially my internal funding to build a business. I don't personally want to give up any ownership unless it's it's case by case basis, but it's got to be someone who's offering a lot of value to scale and grow the brand, a lot of networking connections. But I'd rather go get a loan for, whatever I need at a 10% interest rate than give someone 10% of the business.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I've been so fortunate. I still don't use terms. I pay cash for everything. I started the business with 38 grand. I bought, $38,000 worth of t-shirts, and those t-shirts have funded the whole thing. I think we probably have 800 or 900,000 in inventory that we turn. We'll turn it, once a month now or so. One of my fears with because I have a financial background, right? So I understand, better than most, economic cycles, and I knew it was coming, and yet I'm so darn excited about the next product and the next thing that I haven't paid myself the way that I should, right? So I should have, $3 or $4 million set aside that I don't, because I've continued to invest back in and buying and improving and buying and improving. And one of my biggest fears is to end up with a 40, 50, 80, $100 million business where you make the same amount of money as if you would if it was you in your living room, packing boxes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that can happen where you're buying inventory. Let's say you buy $100,000 of inventory, you sell it for $200,000. You buy $200,000 worth of inventory, you sell it for, and you just continue on that cycle. Next thing you know, you got 50 employees, and you use the business as a piggy bank. So it feels like you got lots of money, but you never actually pay yourself. So what are your thoughts on that? How have you managed that for yourself?
I haven't increased my paycheck from the business since I first started paying myself. However, I have streams of revenue coming from a lot of other different places that are not just the business. But I'm the same way where I see the opportunity that of what that cash can do for the business. So I keep pumping that cash back into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think of on a daily basis, I'm thinking, how do I make the business more money? How do I pay my employees more? How do I hire more employees? How do I make sure these employees are taking care of their families? So it's like, I think that comes from part of being in the military too. It's like you learn to take care of the people that are working for you and with you. So sometimes you put yourself on the back burner.
But if you don't take care of yourself, then it all comes crashing down, possibly.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If I didn't have additional streams of revenue from other places, I would 100% be paying myself more. But it's like, I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, probably yourself included, go through this too, where it's like you see the business growth, and that growth requires more cash, not just in terms of inventory, but marketing, new projects, updates. But there's always like, as soon as you finish one thing, it's like, okay, now we have to revamp the next. It's a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that happens is you see, and especially with social media, you see the people that launch a business, they go out and they buy themselves a Ferrari right away.
Right.
And then they're complaining about why they don't have inventory for the business. It's like, well, because you're driving around in what could be inventory. So sometimes you see this and you say, well, I got to go hard the completely opposite way to get past that point.
See, mine's very confusing because that Ferrari that I buy is directly correlated to revenue, right? I haven't bought a Ferrari, but the proverbial Ferrari, the Porsche that I buy, is what engages the audience because I'm using the Porsche as a prop. And so it's a little confusing at times. I'm like, well, I need to buy this car because that car is going to lead to this result. And so and the returns are astronomical. I come from the world of, okay, I'm going to buy the S&P 500 and I'm going to, write some call options on that. And I'm going to invest in this mutual fund and I'm going to get a 8, 10, 12% return. Well, I'm getting thousands of percent return. If I buy a GT3 and then I've developed a whole product line around that car, that $150,000 I spent on the car that I then depreciate and write off, I'm able to then buy inventory of product and then turn that over and over and over as a result of the car.
Well, that car for you is a marketing expense,
right?
Marketing investment.
Just like you run a marathon and invest that time that you could have, rather than doing all of that training, you could be working on something else, but that training and sharing of that training is directly correlated to so that time invested is. I guarantee you that. I mean, that's the reason why I found you, is I'm watching you train and aspiring to do that, and I bought a bunch of BPN crap, and that's directly correlated to time invested. So I find it so hard as an entrepreneur to choose when to invest, because it all has a return. At some point there has to be you have to because imagine you had $25 million in the bank, you'd still do what you were doing, but you'd have absolutely no agenda.
Yeah.
And you would pay people more, and you'd invest a little bit more intelligently instead of the running into this. Because I get to sense the same with you. I don't ever run into scarcity and survival mode where I pull back. I push forward, push harder, take bigger risk, not less.
Especially with this whole thing going on with COVID-19, you see all these people pulling back. Well, there's an opportunity there then, where while everyone's pulling back, you push forward, and like your market now just became smaller. It's like,
it's so ridiculous. And I called my SEO guy and made him triple. I said, hey, here's triple the money, because now I'm going to get 6 or 7 or 10 times what I was going to get from it. If you're buying words, or you're Facebook, Instagram ads, or if you're running Google shopping ads, things like that, everything just got cheaper because all the scarcity and survival that's kicked in, people have just said, I'm not going to spend it, which it's so counterintuitive. I don't know about you. I feel so fortunate to be able to do that.
We're in the same spot too, where we've seen it too from other markets, our market, where people get scared of what's going on right now, but the world keeps moving on. Like the world doesn't stop for you. Your bills don't stop. Your expenses don't stop. There's an opportunity. And if you're not creative, well, then you'll fall behind. But if you're creative with it, you'll push forward.
Yeah. So what did you split the teams up? Did Texas go into a stay at home order? I don't think they did.
Yeah,
You?
we're to stay at home. But once they issued the stay at home, the roads, the towns obviously like got quieter.
Mm,
But now it's seeming like more people are coming out again because everyone's going stir crazy.
yeah.
So the governor just announced something new this afternoon that I haven't heard yet. But we're hoping this all is over soon. I mean, I'm sure everyone is, but we're ready to get back on there.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I approached it was, in the beginning, Florida was a later than most states to say stay at home, but in the beginning, I split up my teams just in case, so like I have two media guys and like have one media guy to split them up, so they're not in the same part of the building, breathing on each other the whole time,
Yeah.
and everybody's young and healthy, and it's not at a high risk, and so the I split people up, and then eventually, when Florida said you got to stay at home, I sent all the media, all the business management, all those people home, the tech support home, and split the warehouse team into two teams. So it happens my parents live together, and then the other three live together that are the 5-person warehouse team, and so that worked out. And now I've since kind of slowly started to bring people back in on my own decision and my own risk management rather than listening to what the goofy state is telling us to do. So I probably shouldn't admit this on a podcast, but screw them. It's my freaking life here, and these people need a job.
Yeah, I mean, our team, we go from home to the office.
Yeah,
Home.
it's a family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and people online see us like working out together. It's like we just spent the whole day in the same office.
right.
And we go in the gym, like we have it's a closed circuit.
Right. Yes, that's what I say. Keep the circle tight. If you keep the circle tight, then the odds are limited, to darn near zero. Instead of just quitting, I'm just going to quit and put my head in the sand, and apply for a loan that you're not even going to get. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of the most now I feel for the if you own a restaurant or you own something that is very heavy people facing, you're in a tough spot. But even then, you pivot, double down, triple down.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in some of these restaurants and these retail spaces after all of this kind of picks up. I mean, I know some of our local restaurants, the ones that were some of the best spots in this local Central Texas area, they adapted. Like they built systems out, and now when you go pick up food there, there's a line. You're waiting for an hour to get a pizza.
Yeah, because they've figured out how to create a process around it and get on DoorDash and Uber Eats and all over the place and make sure that you're available. What else are you going to do? Be sitting around doing nothing anyway. Yeah, so it's been such an interesting time, as a business owner, and I was scared to death. And I think we've seen 40 or 50% growth. This is the season for detailing your car, so all that stuff people are buying, and then they're sitting at home. And then I tend to influence a more affluent audience in general. So, what's your take on? It seems that you stuck with your formula. How much pull do you feel? Because there's lots of social influencers that have millions of followers that have a lot less chops than you do. So how much time and energy do you spend on looking at what others are doing and worrying about that, or thinking about that and looking and saying you have 400,000 subscribers when you probably when you have more chops than somebody who does the same thing that has 2 million? What's your take on that?
I don't get caught up in what anyone else is doing in this space.
I get that sense.
Yeah. So I was on a podcast with someone this past week, and after the podcast, they were asking me, do you know this person? Do you know this person? And I was like, no, I never heard of them. Like, you just do your own thing, don't you? I was like, yeah, I got my team here. We do our own thing. I see the trends, and the fitness industry it's trendy. Like one style of video comes out, everyone does it. Everyone does the same thing, same times of the year. And we took this approach and we made it like in stone about a year and a half ago, where we said, if there's something trendy or something popular everyone in this industry is doing, Let's go the completely opposite way.
I love it. Love it. I got that sense that you would answer that way. Because I haven't seen any of the bull crap that, that you're doing the same thing that everybody, I mean, even people dress the same. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
You could just see it on especially Instagram. Instagram's the worst. But where people just, it happens in the car world too. Right now, the C8 Corvette is like, you got to get one.
Yeah.
Like there isn't anything on this world I would want less than that. And so I just bought a Civic, just to do the freaking opposite and stick it to them.
Yeah, that's kind of like our whole approach here with the whole team is we do like what we want to do for the right reasons. We stick to our values and our mission, and we'll let everyone else keep chasing everyone else, and we're just focused on what we've always been focused on.
Yeah, because I also find a lot of them are younger guys than us, right? You're a little younger than me, but could you imagine having to wake up every morning and be worried that if YouTube changes the algorithm, that your revenue falls on its face and you're screwed? I mean, without the brand, without BPN behind it, I mean, the YouTube revenue for you is nothing. It's like peanuts in comparison to the BPN brand and what the value of the brand. Forget even the profitability and the revenue, the value of the brand and the name that you're building. I couldn't imagine having to wake up and say, well, YouTube changed it and I lost had 50% of my views and now I'm making half the money. Or marketing dollars, I've seen my revenue drop off, maybe 20-30% just because advertisers aren't bringing as much money, in the current environment. I couldn't imagine having to do that.
That's one thing when we bring on ambassadors or athletes too, or work with anyone, is we're always looking long term. So all these people in the space, any space, that are playing the short game, are getting the quick view, the quick buck, the quick return. They have like a lifespan within their personal brand or their social presence or their business. But you can always tell when someone's in it for the long game. The way they set up their structures, the way they set up their content, the way they build their businesses. It's deliberate. It's not this knee-jerk reaction. It's proactive.
Yeah, I've had this happen. I'm probably the third guy in car detailing to sort of start, develop a decent sized audience. And so since then, many have left me in the dust, right? They've exploded by sticking with, doing whatever's hot, whatever's interesting or whatever, they're watching keywords and they're using that to engage and to develop a larger audience. But I keep sticking to the formula, which is I make 45-minute long videos of me sharing my life and my thoughts and my struggles. And I think what's happened is that I find that that's how a brand is built rather than fans, or an audience, because that fame, I think, is fleeting. It'll come and it could come and go.
You and me, we're not chasing the view, we're chasing a conversion. And I'll see channels or people that have millions of followers, millions of views, and they can't sell anything.
Right.
But it's like, they don't care about, and most of these people don't care about their community. They don't care about the content. They care about the view, the like, the share. But the conversion is the conversion in terms of a subscriber, a follower, someone's life you're changing with your story, and then the sale, which allows you to do what you do with your team.
Well, and that's what I found so in sort of engaging when I was watching your stuff. Like I went in passing and saw a video, same thing you discover anyone on YouTube, and then you become engaged. I'm like, where's this guy from? Okay, I see that. I went and checked out the website. I'm like, what's the story behind it? And so I think just being authentic, without an agenda, right? The agenda is you want to keep doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And the money is just a result. Money is a reward as a result of authenticity and engaging people, actually caring about what you're doing, and then sharing passion. And then I think people respond to that, and then the value of that is so much more than the quick live read or the view on YouTube.
And people's bullshit meter is it's better and better and smarter and smarter. You look at where social media was 2014, 15, and it's like so much bullshit out there.
Mm-hmm.
And people were buying into it and believing it. And now it's like you have to be transparent. You have to be authentic and genuine, or like people are going to see right through it and they're going to call you out on it.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier to be genuine and authentic and create content around that than creating something that's false and fake.
Cool. Well, I know your time is valuable, man. I appreciate you coming on here. I'd like to do this again with you. There are very few people in this world that I feel like I can have a conversation like this with, that understands that the same place, where it's not. Again, you said it best. It's not about the view. It's not about that. It's about the conversion. It's about the converting someone from just casually viewing and being entertained to being bought in and really understand who you are and what you're about. And then you can ask those people for things, for help. Not things, but you can ask them for help if you needed it.
No, there's a transaction. Like you're providing them something, and then in return, because you're getting, as creators, we give a lot of stuff away for free. I mean, we spend hours and hours and hours creating this stuff, and people will realize that and say, well, this guy's done so much work or put so much work in. Yeah, let's support this guy.
Yeah, I think I have a business coach, and he talks about it's a relationship rather than a transaction.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in relationship with people, even if I've never met them, but I'm in their living room. And I'm having a heart-to-heart conversation with them. We're in relationship rather than me just trying to get a quick buck or a quick transaction. Let's get them in and get them out. I don't want to sell them a T-shirt. I want to sell them every T-shirt because I made them a great T-shirt. You don't want to sell them whey protein. You want them to buy the entire product line and then subscribe to that because, one, they believed you enough because you're authentic to buy something, and then when you delivered it and delivered what you said you were going to deliver and delivered a great product, then people will keep coming back infinitely. That's a relationship rather than just a customer or a transaction.
Yeah, I mean, it goes a far way in many different ways in terms putting the emphasis on that.
Cool. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you getting on here. And I'm sure you're like, who's this freaking garage guy? What am I going to talk to this guy about?
I appreciate it. It was a good conversation.
Next time I'll grill you on how your car washing technique and make sure you're not adding swirls. Do you have a Raptor? Is that what you drive?
I got a Raptor. It's a mess right now.
That's no good. Yeah. I have a Gen 1 Raptor. I had a Gen 2 Raptor, and my wife actually drives the Gen 1 Raptor, which is pretty cool. I never got any compliments driving that truck around, and she's always getting complimented on how cool of a truck it is. So I built that thing. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate your time, and this will be up on YouTube. Make sure to go check out. It's Nick Bear on YouTube, right?
Yep.
And go to BPN and buy supplements. I love strong greens because I hate vegetables, so I feel better about myself when I eat that every morning.
Their best seller.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, brother. I'll catch you soon.